Salvation by grace is a common expression nearly all Christians use. But does every Christian understand the phrase the same way? This is something Luther struggled with early on and then throughout his career. Luther had been raised and educated hearing about God's grace. But what Luther came to realize is the understanding of grace he was taught was not what Scripture said. In the 95 Theses, Luther recognized that the papacy was severely distorting the scriptural understanding of God's grace. The Pope declared that God's grace could be received through the purchase of a simple piece of paper issued by the Pope. The confusion was increased when people were taught that God's grace could be received in greater or lesser amounts. Purchasing an indulgence meant you received the highest level of grace. Luther recognized that Scripture said nothing of the sort. God's grace isn't a substance, and it couldn't be obtained like you would buy a watch or a ticket for a train. Grace isn't a substance. Luther understood that all of Scripture is telling us grace is God's disposition toward us. It's the attitude God has in His relationship with us. Think of it this way. God's disposition toward us is much like a parent's disposition toward their children. Parents make rules for the household, leave presents under the tree at Christmas, and provide food for the dinner table, all because of their attitude toward their children. Now let's return to that common expression, salvation by grace, and what it means. Simply put, it's the disposition and favor of God that brings us salvation. And as a way of emphasizing the point, Luther emphasized that by grace alone, by God's disposition and favor alone, we are saved. All of this was said and done so you can remember, a mighty fortress is our God.